A big field of cars, 6 manufacturers, 3 hours of racing and only one winner. It's round 2 of the Australian Manufacturers Championship at Sydney Motorsport Park. Round 5 of the Shannons Nationals. The Sherrin Brothers BMW has undergone some serious development this year and is now a force to be reckoned with.
Got the car back in about 08, built it up. We didn't race it for a couple of years, then started racing it. A lot of development over the last 2 years, and we've gone from not being so competitive to now starting to get a little bit more competitive. It's a 135 twin turbo, 6-cylinder car, beautiful car to drive, well balanced, 2-wheel drive, not 4-wheel drive, so we've got a bit of a disadvantage there, but we pick up advantages in other areas. We had a lot of issues with balancing the car early on. It was fast in a straight line, but not fast through the corners, and that's the biggest area that we've picked up on, is really balancing out the car. We're really good on fuel, and to date we've been good on tyres, although this track's proving a little bit different, but we're hoping that will be the strategy again today. Be good on fuel, good on tyres.
At round 1 of the championship at Phillip Island, the boys grabbed an unbelievable outright result against supposedly faster cars.
We came second outright, first in our class, so we were wrapped with that. That was the first podium place that me and Grant have had outright, so we were really happy with that, just behind Glenn Seaton and Bob Pearson. So yeah, it was a great effort, and the team did an awesome job. Our strategies were perfect, and it worked out well. Well, I'm actually the co-driver, Grant's the main driver, so Grant's my brother. We've done a lot of racing together, and we decided to do this because it's a great format where we can actually race together in the same car. I think Dad likes that too. He doesn't like to see us out there in different cars. It's a bit competitive. Probably damage bill ends up being a bit more, but in the same car, it's a great thing to do as a team and as brothers as well. I would say keeping our team together over last season and this season, and just continually developing the car. That's been the secret. Same team, same drivers, and just developing the car.
And that's what it's all about, development to try and get to the pointy end of the field. The Australian Manufacturers Championship Enduro race about to get underway. Overcast conditions here at Sydney Motorsport Park, and this is going to be a very interesting run to the flag.
It will be a 3-hour enduro, round 2 of the AmChamps this year, and it's an interesting one as well. An amazing lap in qualifying by Glenn Seaton into the 1:40s, uncharted territory for production-based vehicles here at Sydney Motorsport Park. And we've got a round of the Australian Swift Racing Series in and amongst this as well. Alan Jarvis and Ben Grice go from the front row, and you're laughing. We've had some fun with the Swifts this year. It's going to be entertaining to watch.
Putting these two categories together, the lunatics are running the asylum. I love it. Off they go too. Nice clean start by the majority of the field. This is a long race. You don't need to be doing anything silly on these opening laps. The Alfred Limas car on board with them down through turn 1. You can see cold tyres, plenty of wheel adjustment taking place, and they know that they've got a long way to go before this one's over.
Swift Series underway. Now they'll race for the first 1 hour within this AmChamps 3-hour race, as they did at Phillip Island, and it's pretty much par for the course as Phillip Island, bump drafting side by side, all good fun stuff. So we'll chart the progress of the Swift Series race within the AmChamps as well. Plenty of stories up and down this field. The Sherrins are one of them. An amazing podium in the 135i BMW at the last round. They were in great form, and the Queenslanders looking strong early here this weekend as well. But the Evos are going to be hard to beat. The big story coming into this one is the fact that Stuart Costera is sharing with Dylan Thomas in the CXC Global Racing Car. The 3-time Australian Manufacturers Champion back on the grid, Boydo, in an Evo 10 RS Lancer. That's a real challenge to Bob Pearson and Glenn Seaton and Gary Holt and Ryan McLeod.
Yeah, no doubt about that. Stuart Costera, every time he steps into a race car, he's extremely quick, and a formidable team. There's no two ways of looking at it. And speaking of formidable teams, we just saw Grant and Ian Sherrin. They've raced in a variety of different categories over the years, but they've really found a very positive home for themselves here in the Australian Manufacturers Championship. They're getting faster, the team operation's getting slicker, and the results are there to prove it.
Great start from the Eastern Creek Karts Evo Lancer. They started further down the field after some dramas in qualifying, but Gary Holt and Ryan McLeod, very fast combination, and Holt is based literally 5-minute walk away just up the corner by turn 12 at Sydney Motorsport Park with Eastern Creek International Karting Raceway. great combo. They're going to be ones to watch. Dramas at Phillip Island in round 1. They want to bounce back in a big way this weekend.
There's another long-time campaigner in the Australian Manufacturers Championship, the Osborne Motorsport team. A wealth of knowledge there. And the Osborne Morale car just stepping a wheel out onto the dirt on the exit of turn 1. So it gives you an idea of how hard they're pushing.
So early days in this race, and everyone just settles down. The Swift Series, however, isn't about settling down. It's just about driving as hard as you can for the entire 1 hour race. Alan Jarvis looking back at Callan Sayers in the Nationals TV live internet streaming of every Shannon's Nationals round for free at thenationals.com.au. Up the inside goes Callan, good run.
Very tight manoeuvre down the inside and manages to get the overtaking manoeuvre done, and Jarvis is in trouble now. Looks like he might even lose 2 spots.
Yeah, Andrew Price just in behind in the Race for Kids sponsored entry, a great fundraising program, raising money for kids from fractured families, and it's a great campaign. Have a look on the internet for more information about that. Oh, the Swifts, they're good fun, aren't they? They had a sprint race, standalone sprint race earlier in the weekend, Boydo, and it was just full of entertainment and great fun.
Yeah, that's a word. And right now they've whacked them right in the middle of the Australian Manufacturers Championship 3-hour enduro. How good's that?
Oh, it's a recipe for interesting racing. I think that's one way to say it. And part of the appeal of production car racing, as we know, is this great class within a class battle. We're seeing a couple of leading cars amongst it. Mark Eddy and Francois Joy in the Honda Integra Type R. They're leading their class in the AmChamps after the opening round. The Network Clothing Dentbuster sponsored Honda. And here's the battle for the Swifts. Have a look at this.
The manufacturers' cars are being consistent, doing cool lap times, thinking about pit strategies, and these guys are just going hell for leather. Yeah. And in particular, the man you ride on board with at the moment, Alan Jarvis, wants to find a way back into the lead of the Swift race and gets down the inside. Sayers is pushed wide in the 33 car, and he's been able to recoup that. Now Price wants to go on with it. He's been sitting back there in 3rd spot in that battle, waiting for the opportunity, hasn't he?
That's actually a dice for second, because we've just noticed that Ben Grice, the Finance Easy car, is actually a couple of seconds up the road. So that's how remarkably competitive it is. Ben Grice disappearing, but Sheep Station for 2nd place. So there's the Swift Series leader being caught very, very quickly.
Ah, there's Gricey.
Yeah, by the leader of the race outright in the AmChamps. There goes the Product Evo down the inside.
And right now with this lead, he has got a job to do. He wants to stay out of the way of the AMS cars and maintain consistent quick lap times and hope that Jarvis and everybody else behind him keep battling and give him the advantage.
He's been a great find, Ben Grice, this season, hasn't he? He's basically come from relative obscurity. Of course, the surname is very famous, and there's
obscurity.
Yeah, well, there's a lot weighing on that. But in terms of his own driving, bit of speedway, not too much else, bit of improved production stuff in Queensland, but on a national level, he's really performed this year. 8-lap sprint race, I mentioned that before, on Saturday here at Shannon's Nationals round. Alan Jarvis won it, 2nd place. The margin of victory for 2nd and 3rd, 0.01 of a second.
Fraser with a big overtaking manoeuvre down the inside, got the car into a 4-wheel slide. He's not going to maintain that position, but wow, that was bravery at under brakes.
Let's head down to pit lane. More from the Product Racing team. They're leading.
We're in the pits for Team Product, and Tom, how was the start there? We didn't catch it. We were just quickly having a little preparation.
Duck off and have a look on the TV, keep an eye on things, but so far so good.
Fantastic win at Phillip Island. What has the preparation been like ahead of this round?
Pretty confident. We've done a little bit more R&D since then. Found a few more gains in the car, so very confident. We ran the state round here a few weeks ago. Ran 2 cars, and yeah, very confident after that weekend as well. So we'll see how today goes.
You can see Bob Pearson, earplugs already in, getting himself in the zone, ready to take over from race leader Glenn Seaton.
The great thing with Bob is, was he happy or sad? He always looks the same in pit lane. He's so intense. I love the guy.
Hard to say. Glenn Seaton's really enjoying this environment. I spoke to him after their great win at Phillip Island in the opening round, and he said, look, it's just great fun to drive with Bob. The cars are fast, they're good to drive. It's a professional team, but he can just go out and really enjoy his motor racing, and he's doing a great job of leading this race. They did an amazing job at Phillip Island and won that race by a lap. The margin probably wasn't flattering to the competition than it really should have been, because it was a very competitive race, but they did the job in the end, and they've got to be the favourites for the championship, even though it's early days in the AmChamps this year. And they're just putting a lap now on the GT Falcon of Michael Benton and Jeff Russell.
Well, besides sitting down and going through Glenn Seaton's bio, which would take pretty much the entire 3-hour race to get through, just a huge fan of his driving and the way he looks after a car out there. In enduros, in spite of the fact that Bathurst was always an elusive carrot to him, he is just so good in these particular types of cars and endurance racing as well.
Yeah, a couple of 12-hour starts in the production car days there in the Mitsubishi Lancers with the Product team, so he knows these cars. He's really enjoying himself, and it's great to see Product Motorsport back at a national level racing in the AmChamps this year, and the new hand-cooked control tyres brought everyone closer together as well in the AMC this season. Speaking of closer together, Swift Series, it's just always close together, isn't it? Alan Jarvis, the Achilles Radial, the defending two-time champion in the Swift Series, looking back at a hungry pack of Swifts, trying to catch him while he tries to catch runaway leader Ben Grice in the Finance Easy Racing entry.
And he's going to have an uphill battle to try and catch Grice, who's just been able to maintain nice consistent laps and not get caught up with any battles like these three have. But look at the AMC cars just go flashing past. This is what motorsport's all about. Being competitive, being doing quick lap times, but not getting in anyone's way. And for the cars coming through, well, in order to be a race car driver, you have to overtake.
Well, Jarvis just had a massive moment. He was doing the right thing and getting out of the way of the faster cars. I think it was Dodd in the Mazda 6 MPS, the four-wheel drive Mazda, coming through. Jarvis got out of it, had a big moment. Luke Fraser sliced by, and he's lost another position to Price as well. So, gee, entertaining racing. So we saw the Product car go through. This is now the Dylan Thomas Stewart Castera CXC Global car. They're running second on the road. Evo's 1 and 2. BMW's yet to show their hand this season. It's been a challenging start for Beric Linton and Tim Lay, but they've got good endurance, they've got excellent fuel economy. That's going to be an issue. A 3-hour race is very much on the do we do one stop and risk it, or do we do 2 stops and play it safe kind of strategy for the Evos.
Look how stiffly sprung the Thomas Castera car is, bouncing, almost getting airborne over those bumps. An interesting start, and you can see it's forcing the car to slide through the turns as we catch Andrew Price now on the replay in the Race for Kids car, getting that overtaking manoeuvre done on Jarvis. Just the amount of slide from the Castera car has got to be a concern at this stage of the race. Time for the fun to begin down in pit lane though.
It's always busy, and up to 3 stops depending on what car you're running, but fuel economy is not bad here. It's not brilliant though, and like we said, it's a tough one to gamble with. And current running order, the bottom of your screen on the ticker as they run the early stages of a 3-hour race. That car looking strong early. We just saw the Mazda 323 Estina, Sarah Harley and Terry Conroy driving that car, part of a 2-car Conroy Motorsport outfit. And great to see some guys from the New South Wales Production Touring Car Series jumping into the AmChamps Enduro this weekend on home turf, so it's their local track. They're getting some good laps.
Sarah Harley, not only interested in racing in the Australian Manufacturers Championship this year, has been looking for a home over the last couple of years in motorsport, has found one here, but is heavily involved with all different types of activities, including promoting women to come into motorsport on an equal playing field with men. You've got to take your hat off to that, because there are some very, very talented women coming up through the karting ranks, and to have mentors like Leanne Ferrier of the past, now Leanne Tander, you've got Sarah Harley and all of those that have gone before, to have women that have achieved levels of success in motorsport for the young girls to lean on is just something that has been missing in this country for many years.
Here's the second BMW 1M that made its debut at Phillip Island. Meatball flag being shown for somebody on the racetrack.
And that's not because somebody's hungry and needs to come in for dinner. That's because something's wrong with the car, and if they don't come in, they'll be excluded from the race. Something hanging off, generally, that's put out for, that indicates that if it was to fall off, it might cause an issue to other cars. They dive into the pits.
I wonder if that's Andrew Price's issue, because the Swift cars won't be making a pit stop. They don't do pit stops in a 1-hour race.
I didn't see anything hanging off it, and whether it's leaking oil or, blowing too much smoke somewhere out on the circuit, well, we'll find out hopefully shortly.
Very strange, but early dramas for the Swift Series cars as the speed differential between the Mitsubishi and some of the slower cars. There's the Petters Racing outfit, the first Toyota 86 to run at a national level in Australia, and they've been making great headway as Product Motorsport pit for the first time. Glenn Seaton will jump out, and team owner driver Bob Pearson will jump into that car.
Yeah, nice little stint too in the 33A car. Now Pearson puts in his little space saver, jumps into the car. And I really enjoy seeing this guy back in regular competition. 'Cause he disappeared for a little while, didn't he?
Space saver, let's be honest, it was a piece of foam. Get him closer to the steering wheel, but it's not high tech, but
Whatever
it does the
works.
job. Yeah, absolutely. Just a slight height differential between these two. Not much though. And clearly that seating position really optimised for Glenn Seaton. Bob with the compromise. Got to get the radio plugged in, lots to do. Select first gear, drive away, and this is problems for the Sharons. Such a good run at Phillip Island, and they are coasting. Now this happened just recently, so not live pictures, but struggling to find a gear, Boydo.
Just trying to hear if we can see anything wrong.
I wonder if they've run the thing dry. I see them shaking the car side to side,
Yeah,
maybe
and he
fuel
was-
pickup issues.
He was trying to reset something on the dash too. Oh, Camilleri's car is going into the pits.
Well, this is another shame because they were running very, very well. I think it might have been a fuel pickup issue for the Sharons because they were trying to weave the car side by side to try and almost as if they were searching for fuel to get it fired up. So I wonder if they've just run a lap too long.
The cynics out there are saying, yeah, it was a fuel pickup issue. It can't find any
Can't
fuel.
find any. Exactly. But that's part and parcel of endurance racing, isn't it? You push the friendship with fuel. How long do you run for? As we see the Swifts continue this amazing battle. Alan Jarvis and Callan Sayers dives up the inside, and there's contact, and the two-time champ gets turned around. Front-wheel drive, keeps the boot into it, and drives on.
There were 2 hits there. 2 hits. Well, unfortunately, we saw Jake Camilleri come down into pit lane. Let's go down there and find out what's wrong with the Mazda.
Early finish to the race, what's happened?
We've had some kind of mechanical failure. I don't know, just coming onto the straight, and then it's just the engine's cut out, so...
No indication?
No, everything was running spot on, absolutely to plan. Lap times were perfect. We were set for a good race, so we don't know yet, we're just having a look.
Any kind of speculation as to exactly what it is? There's a lot of oil coming out.
Yeah, we don't know. I don't know if something's broken or what, or something's come undone. We're not sure. We'll have to have a look.
You can see the look on his face. He takes it so personally, doesn't he?
Yeah, they put a lot into it. Family operation, the Camilleri team, and they work so hard, based out of Grand Prix Mazda up there in Brisbane. It's the last lap for the Swifts, and it looks like Ben Grice has got this one shot to pieces. Another victory. This is for second place. Alan Jarvis and Luke Fraser actually third. Now this is what happened the lap before. Callan Sayers is actually a lap behind these guys as well, but here comes Ben Grice. He's going to win the Swift portion of this AmChamps Enduro. What a great victory too. Alan Jarvis will be second. Well done, Ben Grice. Now they need to continue on at close to racing speeds because the AmChamps cars obviously still got 2 hours to go, but the Swift part of this race done and dusted, and Alan Jarvis will grab second. But well done to Ben Grice, the Finance Easy racing car going very, very well, and he'll be a happy boy after that one.
Yeah, a good performance for Ben as we check out the results. Jarvis in second, Fraser in third, and Andrew Price rounds out the top 4.
Race 2 winner Ben Grice joins me now, and you got a cracking start. What was the tactics thereafter?
Well, it's just basically control tyres. Our tyre wear, we were really strong. I went as hard as I could for 3 laps and try and build a gap, and then I got comfortable into a rhythm and kept pulling away. And about halfway, sort of blew the tyres off and controlled the race, controlled the gap from there. I'm pretty happy, no mistakes, and a strong win.
Just what you wanted, especially after last time we spoke. There was some challenges last time out. But we were talking with John Bow earlier, and he was saying that you came to him for advice. Can you share some of the insight there?
Yeah, well, Bow is, I think he's the best defensive driver, so I was getting a bit of tips off there and the way you go about mentally and staying controlled and calm in your mind. So he's very experienced and very helpful, and he's a ripper bloke. And, thank you to JB.
The Swift Racing Series is finished for the day, but we've still got plenty of racing in the Australian Manufacturers Championship to come when we come back to Sydney Motorsport Park.
Glenn Seaton now joins us in the pits, and other than some clutch problems at the start, you were pretty much leading from start to finish. What do you feel is lining up for you now?
Well, naturally, it's still a long way to go. Like, there's still 2 hours this race to go, and many things have happened in my career in the last hour of any race. So you never, what do they say, count your chickens until they're hatched. But at this stage, the car is really strong. Yeah, off the start, I initially got a good start, and then when I went to third, it started to slip the clutch, and I knew straight away I had to get out of it and let it cool for a few corners and just drop back a bit. And then once it came good, I just got on with it. But no, it's just all this goes with preparation. The guys have put in a lot of effort behind the scenes. We've done a bit of testing to try and make this car as good as it is. And with the combination of Bob and I, many years of experience in motorsport, it's coming together well.
We're back to racing here in the 3-hour enduro. No more Swifts out on the circuit, so no more excuses. Just one final word on that. Ben Grice, a great job by him. You know, a name will get you a seat, but only driving ability will keep it, and he has done a brilliant job here today.
Yeah, since the very first session he jumped into that car at the start of the season, he's been very fast. So well done to Ben. He wins this round for the Australian Swift Racing Series, but plenty of racing to go into the twilight here in Sydney's West for round 2 of the Australian Manufacturers Championship, with thanks to Hankook, who's jumped on board this season as the official tyre provider.
And as the afternoon goes on, this shot is going to get more and more exciting because the sun gets lower, it shines in their face, it makes it incredibly hard to find your line going down through turn 1 here. It's a very, very interesting state of play as the afternoon progresses.
Now that was the Sherrans just passing our former race leaders. So the Product Motorsport car passed by the Sherran Rentals BMW. Now, ordinarily, I'd say well done to the Sherrans, but I wonder if there's some dramas for the Product team, because that's not how the script's supposed to go with the way they were going in the first half of this race.
Well, Glenn did mention that they had a bit of a clutch problem, and as this race goes on, you never know, that could get worse. Looks like there's going to be some action down here in the pits in just a few moments.
Yeah, that's David Thomas, Dylan's dad, who drove with Dylan last season. They had a great couple of victories in the AmChamps last year in the Evo, and had a great result in Queensland in the Fight in the Night, which will be back in early August. So make sure you head to Queensland Raceway August 2, 3 and 4 for AmChamps Underlights, proper Underlights Le Mans style night racing. So the CXC Global team picks their Mitsubishi from the race leads.
Yes, this point and shoot Mazda's very stiffly sprung, but it's got plenty of power down. And Jake Camilleri looks like he's got some news down in the pits too. So let's go back to Summer and find out if that car, the Mazda's coming back into the race.
Jake Camilleri now joins me in the pit. Now, heartache at Phillip Island with the tyre, but this time the engine, and it looked great at the end of Phillip Island. What happened out there?
Yeah, everything was working absolutely to plan. We were on tracks with our strategy with tyres. The main thing we were looking at this weekend was just tyre wear, and we're on track. We're at the hour mark, but I think what we've done, we've cut an oil line, and I saw that it had low oil pressure. I've just turned the engine off and come in here, and it's too hard to repair. So.
Well, when they mentioned there was lots of oil going everywhere, that's why. So change of drivers for the CXC Global team as we work towards lap 50 here at Sydney Motorsport Park. Dylan Thomas out, Stewie Costera, the 3-time champion, jumps into the CXC Global Evo, and in a very good position. Now it seems like there might be some dramas for the 33 car. So far so good, and Stuart Costera got the last minute call up. I bumped into him at Barbagallo earlier this year, and he said, oh, I'm having a year off from racing, not going to do anything. And sure as anything, he finds himself back in a racing car, like all good racing car drivers should.
Yeah, they can't keep away from it. Why not? If you've got a good package like here at TMR, and you know that you can come out and play in decent length races like this, why not be a part of it? On board with the Sherran car, Grant and Ian Sherran. There's Gary Holt's Beast back out on the track and continuing to circulate.
Yeah, that was just another look at the Sherran BMW passing the Product Motorsport car at turn 1, and it just drove past. So there's something going on that's not entirely happy, and we're hearing reports it could be driveline issues, but not 100% sure as the Sherran BMW comes back in. This is the issue we saw early on. They had dramas trying to get that car back to pit lane, but it seems to be running pretty strongly now.
Which does tend to indicate that fuel pickup problem we were referring to.
It does, doesn't it? Yes, i.e. lack of.
There. Well, those mistakes can be made too. Don't forget, fuel gauges are only an indication. It really is a mathematical process put down by how many laps these guys are doing under pace that really gives you an indication. Plenty of instructions being given too.
Oh, always discussions. That's the on-track motorsport crew. Gary Manell, they've got 2 cars running, the GWS personnel BMWs, the 130i and the 335i turbo of Peter O'Donnell and John Bow.
The good thing about Gary is he's always got an opinion. The bad thing is he's usually probably right.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is why they were having a discussion, because the number 26 130i is into pit lane.
Look at Gary, hands-on in this situation, gets in, wants to have an involvement, loves his motorsport.
See the brothers? See the brothers? That's Scotty and Michael Gore. Just a fist bump. That's great before they get in. That's good.
Well done.
Camaraderie.
I'm ready to go faster now.
I love it. So, the brothers are the last person I choose to race with. But anyway, it did end badly, but they get on really well. Started racing in Swifts as the Donut King team threads the needle through pit lane to try and find their stop. And they pull outside the BMW camp.
That's Tony Elford, I think we can see off in the distance, about to hop in the car as Peter Lemus hops out. He did a good job, kept the Donut King car out of...
He's ready.
Sorry, look at that. Come on, guys, come on.
This pit stop's taking longer than GWS Motorsport would have liked. Tyre going on the right front. Oh no, this is Eastern Creek Karts team drama in pit lane.
That's fire extinguisher dust that you can see. There's been a fire down there in pit lane.
It doesn't look like there's anyone in the car at the moment. So they've had an extinguisher bomb go off. All these cars, as per CAM's regulations, carry a onboard fire bomb. Oh, that's drama. The leading contenders dropping like flies at the moment, and it just adds fuel to these guys' drive for victory with Costera and Thomas. But what is going on down there at Team Eastern Creek Karts?
Well, I thought we saw just before the Eastern Creek Kart came into shot, just a shot of fuel that splashed across. But let's see if we can find out at least what's going wrong with one of the cars down there. The Grant and Ian Sherrin car is back out on the circuit. Let's find out how it's progressing.
Yeah, we're having a bit of a problem coming down the hill into Corporate Hill and around a hairpin. It seemed to be there every single time. I'd do a lot of hard work, catch some of the cars, go past some of the slower cars, and then I'd have this limp mode and I'd have to reset the car and go again. So it was kind of very frustrating to do that. You know, you put all this work in and then you had to catch up again. So, but it was in that one spot. Hopefully it's cleared now.
And hopefully the refuelling will iron out the problem.
Yeah,
and
right.
Grant will be looking for a placing finish.
Yep.
What will be key for him to do that if mechanical things are all okay?
I think for us it's just driving it nice and square, looking after the tyres. That's the most important thing for us. Conserving our fuel, making sure we make it to the end now. That's been our strategy from the start, is one stop, fuel, go again, and go to the end, and hopefully that will work well for us. So he's got to drive it nice and straight and bring it home.
Fingers crossed, thank you. Back to the commentary.
Well, that's one of the biggest issues in production car racing these days, is subverting all the high-tech factory-built computer controls in these cars and getting them to do things that the computers don't want you to do, i.e. drive them hard on a racetrack. And we've seen cars in the past, the GWS 335i and the 1Ms have all had limp mode and computer issues. The car wants to shut down when it feels like it's driving too hard. Let's find out what happened with this car. It's back on track, but I wonder if the team can tell us more about what went wrong in that pit stop.
Ryan McLeod just showed us plenty of smoke there, and now what on earth happened here?
Unfortunately, the hose that connects from the refueler back down to the fuel tank, the coupling had come loose and it was leaking fuel into the cabin. So we had no choice but to pit Ryan and to clean that mess up and fix the problem. So.
And a lot of fumes for him, presumably. Would that have been a scary experience? I mean, it looked horrendous.
No one likes fuel sloshing around at their feet in the car, especially, you know, with turbos, how hot they get and everything. So we're looking good for a win there. So unfortunately, that's cost us the race as well.
But in all honesty, the fact that you can turn it around, you're getting back out there, it's really commendable. And what's the mood like for the team now?
We're obviously disappointed because we were working on a one-stop strategy. But now we're just going to try and sacrifice some points for the championship and see how we go.
Okay, well, back to the commentary.
High-tech issues, low-tech issues, they're issues, aren't they? You were talking about the different electronics in these cars. As an auto electrician, I can tell you that just the map sensor itself, which is a little needle that registers how much airflow is coming into the car, technically, if that's working on song, you get great fuel economy, the car's going great. If it's not reading okay, the car will jump into limp mode and you are driving a car that is missing like no tomorrow. It can be so frustrating for a driver and a team. Let's go down and find out where Scott Gore is at the moment in Class C.
Scott Gore joins me now, and you're leading Class C. Talk us through what's working for you.
The BMW 130 is just such a beautifully balanced little car. It's the sort of car that a couple of goons like my little brother Mike and I can get in and actually be fast enough to be leading the class at the moment. So just a fantastic car and great team.
And tactically, what will Michael be thinking about at the moment to close this race out in front?
To be honest, Mike will be thinking about doing a faster lap than I did, to be quite honest. But they're on the radio at the moment, just trying to keep him steady. We've got a sort of half a lap lead, so hopefully he can just bring it home and we can win the class, which would be a great result for GWS and for CLS Finance.
And we've had fantastic racing all day, but it's dropping now in temperature. Is there anything to consider there, or is it just even better racing conditions?
I think it's probably better racing conditions. It's a little bit cooler. It looked like for a while there was a little bit of rain coming from the other side, but it seems to have gone away now. So I think there's an hour and 10 minutes to go. So hopefully it'll just be slow and steady as we go and bring it home.
Do you think you're going to stay on top with the pace?
Oh, I'm not going to call that, but hopefully so. Hopefully he can bring it home. He's a really good little steerer.
Very good, Scott. Back to the action.
Well, those boys, graduates, you could say, of the Swift Racing Series. So that's where they got their experience racing door to door and now doing these Enduros and having a fantastic time of it too. Now back into pit lane comes the 33 Product Motorsport crew. We heard Ryan McLeod and Gary Holt's crew member tell us before that was race over for them. I don't think you can call that this early. There's still so much that can go on in these races. We just don't know. We are hearing more word through that it is a gearbox issue that's developing for the Product Racing Lancer, but not confirmed yet. Just reports coming through that they're troubling to select gears. But Bob Pearson comes in, and it looks like he's going to jump out. There's Glenn Seaton working his way through. Bob stopped very close to the air bottles there, didn't he? But there'll be a driver change, and Cito will jump back in.
Well, as Glenn gets ready to strap into his car, we'll ask you to stay strapped into yours. A quick break, and then we're back here at Sydney Motorsport Park.
An interesting thing has happened in the AM Champs this year. It's evoking nostalgia in even the most accomplished drivers.
It's been fantastic for us so far because winning round one and driving these cars, I thoroughly enjoy the old production cars. It brings me back early memories of childhood of watching the production cars back in the early days before I started racing. But no, it's very enjoyable. It's a very enjoyable series to be a part of. There's some great competition out there, and seeing all the different manufactured cars as well, racing all together is fantastic. Driving an Evo 10 with Bob Pearson with the product team, and the car's sensational here. It's naturally, this is Bob's home track, so I've done a bit of running over the time. But the car's got a lot of potential this weekend, and hopefully we can come away with another victory. Well, Bob's been around motor racing longer than I have. Bob's, I think, 68 now, and still enjoys motor racing immensely. He puts a lot of effort into it, and some things he teaches me, but some things I teach him. But no, it's a good combination. I enjoy driving with him, and so far it's been successful. We did a bit of testing before the first round to sort the car suspension-wise, and it handles brilliant. It's so easy on its tyres. That's the important thing in this game, is to be able to have a car that looks after tyres. Particularly, these cars are so heavy and so under-tyred because they're basically built for a production car road driving, but yet on a road-type tyre. So you've got to look after all that stuff, and it's important to get the suspension right for that. But yeah, people do write you off, but that's motor racing. It happens everywhere. This style of motor racing I really enjoy because it's relaxing, and also I've got a young 15-year-old son just coming up through motorsport at the moment, so when I step away hopefully he can move on, and that'll make 3 generations of the Seatons.
Well, the Seaton car is back out on the circuit and circulating the Product entered car that he's racing with Bob Pearson, and hopefully the issues they've experienced in the first half of this race won't stay there.
They're still circulating, but struggling in a straight line. Big puffs of smoke out the back, and listen to the noise and the flames out the back. Now what's happening, Boydo, is that car's banging the hard cut rev limiter, so we're getting word through that car cannot select 5th gear. Now if that's the case, they're going to be bouncing that car hard off the limiter by the time they get midway down the straight. So it sounds like gearbox issues for Product Motorsport, and that was a car hard on the rev limiter all the way down into turn 1, and they've got no pace either.
Once upon a time, you'd blow a motor just like that in a situation that the Product car's facing. Now, the engine management system will protect it to a point, but there will be spikes, and the guys need to keep a very close eye that they don't over-rev the motor. Otherwise, it's going to cost them not only a potential victory, it's going to cost them a fair amount of money too.
And while you were saying that, Bordeaux, confirmation from pit lane that it is in fact a clutch drama, and the team just saying that it started during the end of Bob's last stint, so they've got a clutch issue, and that's not going to help their cause. All of a sudden, this car starts to work its way into contention a little bit more. Berwick Linton and Tim Lay. Now Ferrer BMW, the Bruce Linton BMW 1M. It's been a great car since it joined the championship. Orange's Tim Lay behind the wheel. He's a great co-driver for Berwick to have. They're going very quickly, and all of a sudden, with the dramas for two of the leading Evos, they find themselves right in contention.
Well, Berwick's a huge fan of the marque. Not only does he sell them, he races them. And teaming up with Tim Lay, a very clever strategic move in the Australian Manufacturers Championship. A guy with an enormous amount of production car racing experience, knows how to get the most out of the product that he has underneath his feet each and every time he goes out there and races. Couldn't think of anybody he'd want to race with more.
It's a great shot. You can see the Motec dash just above the air vents there. Still running the standard dials. Well, here's the sister car built by the same team in association with Donut King Racing, and they're looking under the bonnet. There's the big BMW 6-cylinder engine, and they're looking right down into the bottom, the front of the engine. Drive belts perhaps on the front of the car, cooling system maybe.
Yeah, I can't even see off that shot what they've got in their hands, which would be an indication to what they're trying to work on, but yet too difficult to tell. We'll just have to wait and see if we can find out once they get their heads out from underneath the bonnet, which is their priority at the moment.
This Mazda 6 is going to be a good car long term. They've been developing this and working hard on the 69 entry for quite some time.
Good looking car.
Yeah, it is. Great livery, the chrome, which is in vogue at the moment, but it's a good looking car nonetheless. The first of its kind to race, and they're trying to develop that car up to be a legitimate outright Class C contender. Yet to get a class victory, and these guys won't either because they're going to go into the garage.
Yeah, that's not the scene you want to see. The car coming out into the fast lane and being pushed backwards. Peter Lemus and Tony Alford and the Donut King 54 car are going to have an extended pit stop here.
Well, it's always difficult, isn't it, when you develop a brand new car? It's always tough to get it up to speed and get it reliable as well. So, well, maybe we can find out more about what's happened with that team. Summer is down in the Donut King Racing Garage with more information.
Tony Alford joins us in the pits now, not in the position that he would like. What on earth has happened? Something with the hose, Tony?
Yes, looks like we've split a turbo boost hose, so they're just replacing that, and hopefully we'll just get out for the last few laps.
And if you can talk us through where you were at before this happened, how comfortable was racing?
Oh no, everything was fine, the car was going perfectly, so yeah, no hassles at all. It's just one of those things that occurred. We've just got to get a stronger hose for next time, I suppose.
Very, very good campaigner, Tony Alford, and of course has plenty of business experience too, which does come into play when you're running a team.
Great to see the Donut King colours back in production car racing as we see the Network Clothing Honda in a bit of a battle with the Osborne Motorsport Mazda 3 MPS. So battle of the Japanese brands. And it's been a good season so far for Mark Eddy and Francois Joy in the Honda. Class D leaders this weekend, racing Jake Williams as it is in the Hankook Tyres Honda from Conroy Motorsport. So a battle of the two Hondas this weekend for the Class D battle. Of course, a race within a race, within a race, within a race in the Ham Champ Series. Lots of great class battles to watch out for.
And within that race, within a race, the guy who's leading the race, or trying to lead the race, but's got problems throughout the race with his clutch and his gearbox, is sitting right behind. Now, how frustrating is this for Glenn Seaton? He knows that there's a battle going on. He doesn't want to obviously impact on that, but wants to get clear of that so he can concentrate on not blowing the motor or the gearbox or the clutch in this car. This is where experience counts.
Yeah, and the Evo's so much quicker through the corners, but the thing will just run into a brick wall when it gets halfway down the straight, and he tries to keep the thing from banging into the hard cut. So the electronic limiter just cuts in. There's the puff of smoke and some flames and sparks out the exhaust. So the electronic limiter stopping the car from over-revving and blowing the engine and from detonating. But it's actually quite hard on the engine when it does that. The hard cut just cuts fuel supply, so the thing runs lean and it bangs and crashes and sounds terrible.
You've heard the term confident overtaking manoeuvre. That was please don't turn in. Please let me through.
He's still setting a good pace. They're still in contention. They've just dropped a little bit of time with this, but they're giving away pace to the leading CXC Global car, but they're still going okay.
That's not a happy face from Gary, team manager. So it looks like this car won't take any further part, the 26C car.
Well, we saw smiling faces from the Gore brothers before, but as the sun sets at Sydney Motorsport Park, and we should mention our cameras make it look a lot brighter than it really is. It's getting quite dark and quite gloomy. The clouds have come over within the last hour of this race. Headlights ablaze on most of these cars now, so these are challenging conditions. Having said that, here in Sydney's West, the track almost faces due west for the setting sun in the afternoon at turn 1, so it's almost better that it's overcast. Otherwise, these guys will be running down into that first corner well over 200 k's an hour into a great big ball of fire in the sky.
What I think so fascinating about the game plan of this 3-hour enduro is that every team that we've spoken about so far, we've related some sort of an issue to them. Grant and Ian Sherrin have problems with the engine management computer going into limp mode. We've got Seaton and Pearson with clutch problems or gearbox problems, and a continuation of same car pulling off the circuit, and it looks like their day is done. Here's a car that hasn't really had any issues whatsoever. You want to know how to win an enduro? Look at the CXC car.
Yeah, have a trouble-free day. Just been doing some calculating though, Bordeaux, which is a worry because maths isn't my strong suit, if I'm honest.
Not if it's over 21.
Well, no, as the product team have some investigative digging in the engine bay, but I'm wondering if they're going to get to the end of this race. It's a 3-hour timed race, but they're going to be marginal on fuel. 2 stops so far, but Stuart Costera is going to have to stroke that car home. It's going to be a very dicey situation for CXC Global Racing. They need to get this race done.
Well, this is where, in the pits, you can win a race. It'll be a mathematical calculation on whether this car can get to that 3-hour mark or not, and a right call or a wrong call will either be champagne or water.
Well, yeah, a massive disappointment will be very much the case. So the Sherrin's still running around there a little bit way down the order in the Sherrin's Rentals BMW. There's Costera, so just stroking that car round and trying to get it to the flag. You can see how dark it's got here in Sydney's West. Well, it's been a fairly unglamorous end for the winners of the opening round of the AM Champs at Phillip Island. Glenn Seaton's down in pit lane to tell us about the end of his day.
I'm joined by Glenn Seaton, and that was the most incredible counter-attack. Changing over from Bob, talk us through the clutch problems.
Well, when Bob was in the car at the end there, the clutch went to the floor. It's naturally a slave saw the problem, and so you could naturally, with these gearbox being standard road car ones, you can't. It's very difficult to change gears. So I just jammed into 4th gear and drove the whole track in 4th gear for that whole stint. But the problem was in the end, because it was revving so hard down the straight and bouncing on the rev band all the time, the engines got a bit warm. And doing that, we tried to see if we could get to the end of the race and get a good result, but it wasn't to be.
Well, that's a shame for Glenn Seaton, but that explains the dramas. He was doing unbelievable lap times stuck in 4th gear.
Doing the easy run,
yeah,
so to speak, without having to change too many gears, but not the sort of race car he wanted to be at the controls of. Unfortunately for them, they're out. The race does continue on as we say goodbye to the sun.
There's David Thomas in pit lane, and Costera going pretty slowly. He's just in massive fuel-saving mode. He's got a lap up on the Alfera BMW of Beric Linton and Tim Lay. So he's got a lap up his sleeve, but he's got to get to the flag at the end of the 3 hours. The car leading at the end of 3 hours.
And this is where engineers and drivers lose friendships.
Yeah.
Go fast, but don't accelerate.
Exactly. You need to conserve fuel. So they need to be careful. They're getting ready for a splash and go. And we're getting told that there's no pit-to-car communication either, so they're going to be doing this the old-fashioned way. So the radio's not working, and Stuart needs to pit. He needs to get fuel in. He's got time to get in for a splash and go and put some juice in the car. He's flashing the lights, the indicator, it's all on.
It's the final lap, we're being told too. Now, Costera, has he got it? They were expecting him in. Has he got enough fuel to make another lap here at Sydney Motorsport Park? This is a long tour. No radio communication. He obviously didn't get the message. This is going to be fascinating.
Yeah, and the problem is he's not going to know. Yeah, it's right on the hard cut. It's out of gas. He'll be on the reserve tank now trying to get it home. The problem is if he's got no radio, he's not going to know how long this race has got left. But if he pulls in at the end of this lap, Boydo, he will not win the race.
Thanks to Michael Schumacher a few years ago, you can't win a race in pit lane. Stuart Costera knows that.
Well,
he's got the pop, he's got the warning, you're about to run out of gas. He knows he has to come in. There's no pit to car communication. This is going to be fascinating. What will Stuart do?
He's get out the final corner, shut the thing off and coast it to the line, but he's operating.
Does he know?
We've got more information than he does, which is ironic, but this is a very, very difficult thing. He cannot pull into pit lane. You can see the BMW in the background. It's a lap down, but if he pits, the BMW will win this race. That is the absolute fact of the matter. And it'll rumble on for a long time. It will be hugely contentious. But Stewie's just got to get the thing out of turn 12 and coast it to the line, and they'll win the 3 hour, which will be a great comeback. It's been a great comeback regardless after a tough opening round.
Well, Stuart Costera said that he wasn't going to race for the year. He's been called back to the fore, and this is a big challenge for him. He goes to pit lane, and unfortunately, that's not going to be a victory.
Watch for the timing stand, the starters stand. If the checkered flag isn't out, they won't get it. He won't win the race if he's in pit lane. That was the last lap of the race.
Now, this is our interpretations of the rules, well, I should point out too.
It is, and I can guarantee you this will rumble on. And he's being directed through pit lane. Teams are on the wall expecting to see the end. Now there's the checkered flag hasn't been shown yet. So mass confusion. I reckon these guys think they've got it in the bag. Green light still on a pit lane. As long as that green light's on, he can exit. He can go back on the racetrack and he will win the race. But if that changes,
they're stressed.
The clock's tipped over, and he's getting sent out the backboarder. The red light was turned on at the end of the 3 hours, not allowed back on the racetrack. Race over. He won't win this race. He'll be a lap in front of the BMW, but he will not win this race as it stands.
And Richard, that all boils down to communication. No communication from the pit to the car. I feel so sorry for the team. I feel so sorry for Stuart Costera, but there is the checkered flag, and the rules as they stand do indicate that he's not going to pick up a victory.
Yep, and there's confirmation. Beric Linton and Tim Lay in the BMW. Unofficially, we need to stress, classed as winners, the 3 hour at Sydney Motorsport Park.
2 laps in my stint, the communication fell down, so we had no communication with the pits. About 5-6 laps later, the dash has gone out, so we had no telemetry. So I was just doing a lap time that I knew was a comfortable lap time that the boys had been doing all morning, so you know, we could continue doing that. So we're just plugging away. We knew that we needed to have fuel before the end of the stop, and you know, without knowing how long to go, how long the race was going to be, where I was in the race, I just had to keep plugging away, and the car coughed about 4 laps out, and I knew we'd get 2, maybe 3 laps with it coughing, but again, without knowing when we were going to finish, I just had to come in and do a splash, and then they wouldn't let us out of pit lane.
Well, he had no choice, and your heart does bleed for him. It's Linton and Lay with the victory over Holt and McLeod.
The Sharon's home in Class B ahead of Michael Benton and Jeff Russell, O'Donnell and Bow third.
And Bell and Dodd take out Class C.
Hadrian, Morrell and Osborne next. Jakey Williams and Strong take out Class D in the Honda. And Sarah Harley and Terry Conroy home in Class E in the Mazda 323.
Look, an incredible finish. Obviously, these guys had some dramas. We'll run out of petrol. We all pushed the limits to try and do it in one stop. You feel sorry for them, but on the other token, that's motor racing, and you know, we're all pushing the limits, and you just keep driving even though they had the lead, and you know, it's great for us to win, and Tim did a great job, and thank our sponsors, and look forward to round 3.
And Tim, from your end, how was racing today and seeing this unfold?
It was terrific. I mean, motor race is full of surprises, but it was good to Beric's a good mate of mine, so it was good to come along and try and support him, and yeah, it was terrific. So the result's great. I mean, it's unfortunate for these guys, but that's the way it goes, you know. I mean, we have our ups and we have our downs, so today's going to be an up for us, so it's great.
Points after 2 rounds of the Am Champs. Linton and Lay lead the way in Class A. Everything provisional though, Boydo, after that wild race.
And the Sherrans make it 1-2 with Grant on top in Class B.
Extra points for pole position there. Adam Dodd leads Mark Bell on equal points in Class C, and Mark Eddy and Francois Joy. Eddie just in front in Class D.
And Harley and Conroy are locked together on Class E championship lead. Well, what a fascinating race.
Unbelievable stuff, and Boydo, it will rumble on for a long time. The next round of the Am Champs at Queensland Raceway in August, and we're not going to know a winner officially until then.